Imagine this. You're a brilliant scholar in the heart of the Spanish Golden Age. You pour your entire life into one revolutionary work, a dictionary that will change how people understand the Hebrew language. But it doesn't bring you fame, it doesn't bring you fortune. Instead, it leads to your complete and utter ruin. This is that story.
This right here, this is a desperate plea from that very scholar, Menahem ben Saruk. It's a letter from a man who has lost everything. This is really the heart of our story, and it sets up a huge mystery that we're about to unravel together.
So that's the big question, right? To get to the bottom of it, we need to dive into the world he lived in, the incredible work he created, and, yeah, the rival who brought it all crashing down.
Okay, to really get this, we have to go back to 10th century Cordoba. And listen, this wasn't just any city. It was the glittering center of Al-Andalus, a place just buzzing with energy, where science, poetry, and Jewish intellectual life were absolutely flourishing.
And right at the center of all that excitement was this guy, Hasdai ibn Shaprut. He was a big deal. Physician to the Caliph, a short diplomat, but for our story, the most important thing is that he was a massive patron of Jewish culture. He had this grand vision to elevate the Hebrew language.
Now, Hasdai knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed the absolute best mind he could find. So he sends for our protagonist, a genius linguist named Menachem ben Saruk, and gives him a job that would literally change the Hebrew language forever.
So what was this monumental task? Well, Menahem was supposed to create something that had never, ever existed before. A tool that would give scholars this totally new, crystal-clear way of understanding their own sacred texts.
He called it the Mashberet. You can think of it as the very first complete dictionary of biblical Hebrew. I mean, for the first time ever, every single word from the Bible was meticulously organized by its three-letter root. This was just a colossal achievement.
But here's what made the Machberet so groundbreaking. It wasn't just that it was a dictionary, it was the whole philosophy behind it. See, back then, the way you understood Hebrew was by comparing it to related languages like Arabic and Aramaic. Menahem just threw that all out. He argued that Hebrew was a pure language that had to be understood on its own terms. This was a really radical idea, and, well, it was going to make him a target.
Because you know how it is. When you introduce a big, new idea, you're bound to get some pushback. And pretty soon, another brilliant scholar showed up in Cordoba, one who saw the world and language in a completely different way.
His name was Dunash ben Labrat. He was from Baghdad, the other great hub of Jewish learning, and he was basically Menachem's opposite in every way. He loved Arabic poetry, and he was a huge champion of that comparative method, the exact thing Menachem had rejected. You could just feel a collision was coming.
And Dunash didn't just disagree with Menachem. Oh no, he went on the offensive. He went straight to their patron, Hasdai, and handed him a book called Teshuvot, or Responses. It was a brutal, systematic takedown of Menachem's life's work, finding fault with over 200 different entries.
He just picked apart Menahem's definitions, like Menahem defined Armun as a palace. Dunash fires back, wrong. In the entire Bible, Armun is like Migdal, a tower. There's no difference. He was basically saying Menahem was ignoring the evidence, staring him in the face.
And the criticism got ugly. It stopped being academic and got deeply personal. Dunash wrote that passing on Menachem's work was a flaw and a disgrace to youths. He was basically calling him an incompetent hack who was corrupting the next generation of scholars.
So you've got this firestorm of an intellectual debate. But what happens when one of those debaters, your biggest critic, has the ear of your powerful patron? For Menahem, the answer was just catastrophic.
The whole thing happened so fast. Dunash's arguments were aggressive, they were persuasive, and they completely won over their patron, Hasdai. And just like that, Menachem lost everything. His job at the court, his financial backing, his reputation, gone. He was totally cast out. And that brings us right back to that devastating letter from the beginning. May my right eye grow dim, he writes, if I was not melted in the crucible of starvation's furnace. His ruin was total. This brilliant scholar was left completely destitute, all because of an academic disagreement.
But the story doesn't actually end there. Menachem the man might have been defeated, but his work, his radical idea, that had lit a spark. And his downfall, ironically, just fanned it into a huge flame.
You see, Menachem's students just couldn't stand by and watch their teacher's legacy get erased. So they picked up their pens and they wrote these passionate, fiery defenses of the Machberet, hitting back against every single point Dunash had made.
Of course, Dunash's students responded right back.
defending their own teacher. And what started as this bitter rivalry between two men just exploded. It became a full-blown battle of the books that was fought by their students and their students' students for over 100 years.
And the impact was just incredible. I mean, you could see it right here. It all started with one book and one critique, and it ignited a debate that lasted over a century. Their personal conflict, believe it or not, actually became the foundation for the scientific study of Hebrew grammar in Europe.
So, why does all of this matter? Because out of this intellectual brawl, the core ideas of Hebrew grammar were hammered out. The whole concept of the three-letter root system, which was central to Menahem's work, became firmly established. It's this incredible, tragic irony. Menahem's personal ruin led to his ultimate intellectual victory. His ideas, tested by fire, won in the end.
Menahem's story leaves us with a really tough question, though. He was a true pioneer, and he paid an unbelievable price for his vision. It makes you wonder, is this just what happens to people who dare to challenge the old way of thinking? Does progress always have to be built on personal tragedy?